Directed by M. Night Shyamalan, Split stars James McAvoy as a troubled man with 23 different personalities who kidnaps 3 girls and takes them to his underground lair. Heads up, this review will be spoiler-free until the end of the video. After I give you my grade for the movie, I will let you know we're going into spoiler territory and you may leave if you want to. But don't worry, no spoilers until then. Now, I've been pretty excited about this movie for a few months now. Until after I first saw the trailer, I thought, wow, this looks pretty good. It's definitely got a great performance from this guy, it looks like. And Shyamalan started out very well. He had 3 great movies, or at least good. The Sixth Sense was great, Unbreakable, pretty good, and Signs, which was kind of mixed, but a lot of people loved it. And some people I know absolutely loved it. Others thought it was okay, kind of like me. But anyway, he started out really good. And then he took a downward spiral with such movies as Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Village, which I actually thought was okay, not great, but I liked it alright. And then, of course, the infamous The Last Airbender, which has been deemed one of the worst movies of all time now. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, it was pretty bad. So this movie starts out really abruptly. There's only about 5 minutes before the major start of the movie happens. Only about 5 minutes. And since we all kind of know what's going to happen, we've all seen the trailers, or at least most of us have, I thought that was a good bonus for this movie, to get started really quickly, because, you know, going in, most of us already know we have 23 different personalities to deal with, and we've only got 2 hours to do so. So yes, we need to start this movie really quickly. Shyamalan did that, and I thought that was a great thing to do. As the movie goes along, it reminded me more and more of one of my favorite movies of last year, right up here at 10 Cloverfield Lane. We've got an underground bunker, we've got a crazy guy, we've got a girl or girls in this scary situation, and they need to get out. A friend I went with thought it was a lot like Psycho, and I thought that was actually a very astute observation, because it really is. In Psycho, Norman Bates obviously has 2 personalities. He's got his own quirky but okay personality, and then he's got this really crazy personality where he dresses up like his mother and kills people. In this case, we have 23 different personalities. He doesn't act like his mother at all, but he does act like women and straight people and gay people and all kinds of different people. Just everybody you can imagine is in this guy. And that is what makes this movie so good. James McAvoy is brilliant in this role. I would not be surprised if not this year, but next year he gets nominated for Best Actor. Because although this movie is just kind of like a thriller, horror story that isn't like the next Citizen Kane, he is brilliant, and you have to be a very good actor to be able to portray all these different roles. Now, you don't really get to see all 23 throughout the movie, but you do get to see a lot of them, and several of them are featured quite heavily, and as soon as he switches to one of these personalities, you know, oh, that's that one, and that's that one. So he does a great job of doing that, which could be really difficult, and it could also come across as really campy, but it does not in this movie, and that's because, not really because of the script, which we'll get to later, but it's because James McAvoy did such a great job of portraying all these different characters. The supporting cast is decent. They are all far overshadowed by James McAvoy, but they're okay. Some of them do act like your typical horror movie characters. Oh my god, what are we going to do? Let's hide in the closet. And then some others are a little smarter, a little more well thought out. Now, the first 2 acts of this movie had my attention. They do deviate a little bit and take some little side routes and stuff that were not really quite necessary, but they held my attention. The main problem with the first 2 acts is we actually do not spend a whole lot of time with these kidnapped girls. We spend a decent amount of time there and figuring out what's going on, but there's this huge subplot where McAvoy, whose name is Kevin in this movie, or one of his names, visits this therapist, and that's largely how we find out about this character and what's wrong with him. And personally, I felt like a little bit of that would be necessary, but I think they overutilized it, because I think we could have figured out this for ourselves more if we had seen him interact with the other characters, namely the kidnapped ones, a little bit more than he does. And there's also a series of flashbacks throughout this movie, which I won't spoil, but they're kind of just thrown in there, here and there. It's not like, oh, 20 minutes have gone by, it's time for another flashback. It's like, oh, we have one here, and 10 minutes later, let's have another one, and then an hour later, let's have another one. And for a large part of the movie, you're like, why do we need to see this? Why is this important? And towards the end, we do get to see why it is, which is good. But like I said, I think they could have handled those a little bit differently. Anyway, the third act is where this movie did kind of lose its steam for me, unfortunately. Because throughout this movie, and you hear this in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, throughout this movie we hear about the Beast. and we don't know what it is. Is it another personality of this character, Kevin? Or is it something made up? Or maybe is it something else entirely? And the third act is where we deal with it. I won't tell you exactly how they do, but the way they deal with it, I wasn't too crazy about. I thought it was a little bit... Actually, I'll tell you that in the spoiler section. So one thing I was a little disappointed about was this movie was not nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. It looked really creepy in this trailer. You got this creepy guy crawling around on the ground and dragging people out of, into hallways and stuff. And what you see in the trailer is about all the jump scares and horror elements that are in this movie. This movie is not that scary, at least to me. So overall, I did find Split to be enjoyable, but I was a bit disappointed by it, mostly because of the third act, which I will talk about here in just a moment. But overall, I thought it was an okay movie, but not one you need to rush out and see right away. It was just okay, and I'm going to give it a B-, which isn't terrible. It's like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's okay. It's probably the best movie you're going to get in January, other than some of the limited release movies such as Patriots Day or Silence, but I do kind of wish I'd opted to go to one of those instead of this one. I was excited about this one, and it was good, but it's not quite as good as I was hoping. It's a vast improvement over such atrocities as The Last Airbender and The Happening, but kind of like an alcoholic. It takes a while for things to get better for someone like that, Shyamalan did when he was in the all-time lows of those movies I mentioned, and he's recovering, but he's not quite there yet. These things take time. So that's what I think what's happening here. I am very excited to see what Shyamalan does next, and I think we may have some hints of that, as I'll tell you here in just a moment. So now, folks, we are venturing into spoiler territory. So if you have not seen the movie, go away, but do come back, because I do want to talk about this with you guys. If you've seen the movie, stick around. Here we go. So before I get to the real ending, let's talk about that third act a bit. The Beast just turns out to be not this monster like we think it's going to be. He doesn't turn into a monster, but he does kind of grows a little bit bigger. He gets much more muscular. He's got veins popping out of his chest. Not literally, but you see the veins on his chest, and he starts cannibalizing people and grabbing people, and he gets really violent. But I don't know if it was really necessary, because the whole movie is going for a pretty realistic approach. As I said, things like this can happen. People do have different personalities, maybe not 23, but they do have different personalities, and girls and boys and adults get kidnapped every day by freaks like this. So it was a very realistic movie up to the point where they get to the Beast, which they allude to throughout the movie, and they do kind of say it's going to be supernatural, but we're not really sure. We're not even sure if it's real for most of the movie. I mean, we assume it is because it's advertised in the trailers, but I thought, well, maybe the twist is there is no Beast, or maybe it's something completely different. I was expecting a huge Shyamalan twist, like in The Village or The Sixth Sense, something enormous, like, oh my god, this is completely different than what I thought this whole movie was. That's what I was expecting, and that is certainly not what I got. And that was the main flaw with this movie. There is no enormous twist. And the kind of twist we get in the movie, which is a big one for some people, relies on knowledge of a prior movie made by Shyamalan called Unbreakable. So let's talk about that kind of post-credit scene. After Split pops up on the screen, it cuts right to a diner, like this diner or bar or something, and the TV is showing how James McAvoy's character is being hunted for and hoping to be arrested and captured. I wasn't really listening to what was being said at this point, because who's there but Bruce Willis? And why is John McClane here? My first thought was, is this supposed to be an allusion to The Sixth Sense? Because I'm very familiar with The Sixth Sense. I've seen it. It's one of the most famous movies of all time. It's in the 1001 movies you must see before you die. It's a big movie. And I thought, is this why Bruce Willis is here? Or is it just kind of like a funny thing? Like, hey, let's throw Bruce Willis in a bar because I'm good friends with him. Meaning Shyamalan, because he's been in 2 of his movies. But that's what happened. I forgot about the second movie Bruce Willis was in. This is not an allusion to The Sixth Sense, but to Unbreakable. Now, for those of you who don't know, Unbreakable is kind of like a superhero, supernatural, sci-fi story created by Shyamalan shortly after The Sixth Sense, also starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Now, the thing is, I am not very familiar with this movie. I don't believe I've ever seen it all the way through. I've seen large parts of it before, and I'm familiar with the story. But the thing is, the entire twist of Split, a movie which is advertised as something completely separate, the entire twist revolves around your knowledge of a prior movie. And it's not like The Sixth Sense where everybody has seen it. Unbreakable is a popular movie. It's got a great following. but it's not The Sixth Sense in popularity, and it's certainly not like Star Wars or Indiana Jones, where everybody has seen it. And the thing is, this is not Unbreakable 2. And it's not even advertised in the trailers like, hey, Bruce Willis is going to be in this movie. Maybe you might want to see another movie he was in before you come see this one. So I've heard from people who do love Unbreakable and have seen it multiple times that they thought that was a great twist, and I have a feeling I would have too. But like I said, I have not seen Unbreakable all the way through. I don't think I have. And if I have, it's been a very, very, very long time. So that really didn't mean a whole lot to me. And also, I think the whole thing about the Beast, where McAvoy's character transforms into this like buff, super strong, superhuman character, I think that's kind of explained more in Unbreakable, so it might have made a little more sense. I also heard that some of the music used in Split is also used in Unbreakable, so if you've seen Unbreakable and you're really familiar with it, then you might have picked up on that earlier in the movie. So it's kind of neat that he did that, but here's where I have the problem with that. Let's go back to the movie that reminded me of Split, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now that was a sequel to Cloverfield, which also had, the really weird word that no one else has heard before, Cloverfield, in it. Now, it is a different movie, it's completely different, and you do not have to have seen Cloverfield in order to enjoy it. But you may have enjoyed it a little bit more because there's just a couple of tiny, small references that take up 1% of the movie's runtime, if that might enrich your experience more if you have seen Cloverfield. But this one, the twist revolves. The entire twist of this movie revolves around you having seen Unbreakable, which I personally do not like. For fans of Unbreakable, I'm sure it's going to be great, but for the rest of us who either have not seen Unbreakable or are not very familiar with it or maybe just didn't like it, it's not going to be a good twist. And that's going to be a large portion of the audience, and I don't think they're going to like that. I think they're going to be confused. I think they're going to be thinking, why the heck is Bruce Willis here? And they may even think, like I thought for a while, that it's an allusion to The Sixth Sense, not Unbreakable. If I hadn't done my research, I might have just, discarded the whole thing because I remembered, oh, spoiler alert for The Sixth Sense, which has been out for almost 20 years now, but huge spoiler. Oh, Bruce Willis is dead in that movie, so it couldn't possibly be him because he looks older in this movie, so it couldn't be him before he died in The Sixth Sense. So I should have thought of that sooner than I did. I should have thought of Unbreakable, but I just didn't. I did my research, found that, and I just came to the conclusion that I don't think that was a great idea. A large portion of the audience will be alienated by the twist ending, and they're going to be confused. So that's my thoughts on Splits. Like I said, I would give it a B-. If I had seen Unbreakable, I might have given it a higher score. I don't know. I do want to see Unbreakable again, and then I'll probably see Split again, and I might have a different opinion by then. So, if you have seen Split, please let me know what you thought, either in the YouTube comments or on Twitter. Yes, follow me on Twitter. I did set up a Twitter page, @CinemaQuest1. That's @CinemaQuest1. 1 the number, not O-N-E, just 1 the number. So follow me there. And definitely let me know what you thought of Splits. I'd love to discuss it with you in the comments or on Twitter. Also, guys, stay tuned in a couple weeks, about 2 weeks, for an updated Blu-ray collection video. I'm very excited to show you some of the new titles that I picked up, give you some quick thoughts on that, and maybe you can tell me some movies that I don't have that are similar to other ones in here, or others in genres that I collect heavily, like sci-fi, that you think I should check out. I'd appreciate it, because I do that all the time with other people's Blu-ray collections. So stay tuned for that. I'm working very hard on a short story for a short film. That's going to be a while, though, because we're going to spend lots more time on it. We've got new equipment, and I'm really excited about it, but it's going to be a few months, because we're going to put our all into this one. So wait patiently for that. I'll have other things for you. I'm also going to have a review of John Wick before John Wick Chapter 2 comes out next month. I'm super excited about that. And of course, I'll have other little things here and there, so stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. Make sure you subscribe, follow some of my other followers on YouTube and on Twitter. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.